Virgo, welcome to a special full moon reading. The full moon is going to be on October 13th at 20 degrees of Aries, and this is occurring in your 8th house. I think I just did a reading a couple of days ago where I went into detail about that for you, but basically this can be finding out about some money, maybe through a spouse or through siblings if it's an inheritance, details about that maybe that you didn't know. It can just be a very intense time in general because the 8th house is a house of transformation, but it kind of is a house where there's a lot going on underneath the surface. So in any case, and the full moon can illuminate those things. So I'm starting the reading over again. That's why I'm doing this. So this is a spread that I got from a website called emeraldlotusdivination.com, and so I'm going to just walk you through the different positions. And I'm tweaking some of the wording. Like for instance, the first position here is a success that I will enjoy during this lunar phase. And I'm going to say, rather than say a success, an event or something along those lines, a development that will occur during this lunar phase. This is the 8 of Wands. I'm saying development because it's more broad and, it might appeal to more people. And the 8 of Wands can be that something is very, like there's a lot happening all at once. So, for instance, if you are a Virgo who's been looking for a job and you just have had no takers, all of a sudden you could have like 3 offers in 1 week, and you're like, gosh, where was this a month ago? Why did this happen like this? And so it's like that sense of things starting to really progress, but it's almost like a little bit too fast all of a sudden. And so the next card is something I should set my intention toward. And this is the High Priestess, and this is a card of the inner life. This is like connecting with your higher self. This is a passive card. It's like be still and know. And so an intention would be to kind of like go within more, maybe meditate more. If you have any kind of a problem that you're dealing with, to not distract yourself with outer things, and to really take time to devote to like trying to connect with your intuition about it and what you think, not on the intellectual level, but on the gut level or on the intuitive level of what you need to do, what steps you need to take to deal with this issue. And the High Priestess can speak about, that something is happening maybe behind your back, and you want to have this revealed at the time of the full moon. Actually, having a full moon in the 8th house can do that anyway, because the 8th house can be kind of like full of secrets, and the full moon can just shine a flashlight on them. Something you should avoid during this phase. This is the 10 of Wands. I would say working too hard, because even the High Priestess, another thing you could say is that this is, like I said before, passive. So it means that you have to let go of distractions, including overwork, which can kind of like distract people from their problems or something that they really need to take care of. For instance, if you suspect that your partner is cheating and your answer to it is just to like work longer hours so you don't have to like come home and be around this person, if you just really want to leave the relationship, that's not really going to solve your problem because it's just going to remain there. So you might have to actually have that uncomfortable talk, or, kind of like tell the other person exactly where you're coming from and what you plan to do about it. If you don't want to be in the relationship or something like that. The other thing too is about taking responsibility for things that don't belong to you. So codependent behavior, because let's say that during the full moon you find out that your partner's cheating. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but let's use that as the worst case scenario. And you confront the person, maybe it's just something that they can't deny for whatever reason. Then what you want to do is you want to just, listen to what they have to say. But if you don't agree with it, it's not about trying to convince them, but it's also not about trying to placate them by allowing yourself to accept responsibility for their actions. Because sometimes when people are busted, they will blame the other party, and they'll say, well, if you weren't working so much, I wouldn't be alone and I wouldn't have this temptation. So people a lot of times will deflect their own bad behavior and kind of put it on somebody else and act like it's their fault. And Virgo is a sign that might actually believe that and might actually say, well, I'm going to try, to themselves say, well, I'll try to work less so that this person won't cheat, or something crazy like that. Now, there may be a grain of truth in anything that somebody says that is giving a reason for their negative behavior, but it always has to come from the place of they are accepting responsibility for their actions. When somebody is blaming, they're not accepting responsibility. They're telling you that you're the problem. And if you take that on and say that, yeah, I should have been home more often, and so it's my fault that that person cheated, then you are kind of rewarding their bad behavior, because they could always have come to you and said, I feel neglected, I think you shouldn't work so much, and then you would know that they are unhappy. But sometimes these people are not doing that. They're just doing whatever they feel like doing. And maybe they're just using that as an excuse anyway, and they would have been cheating anyhow. So, again, I'm using cheating as an example, but I just wanted to give an illustration of what I meant by that. So the fourth position is a challenge that you will soon face. The Four of Wands, this is the card of the happy home. Sometimes it's marriage and things like that. So again, maybe this is like a personal relationship oriented, although I do feel with the Eight of Wands that there might be something even career related that's really moving forward for you. And perhaps that is connected to it. If you're, doing well in your career, you might feel like your marriage is being threatened because of it. And even if your partner isn't cheating, they still may be unhappy and not really telling you, but you know in your gut that there's something is off. And so that is something that has to be balanced. And everyone wants to experience success and take advantage of opportunities, but you have to realize you can't be everywhere at once, and you can't do everything perfectly well. You have to devote time to things to have them be in a good place. And so if there's a great emphasis in one area, it's obvious that another area may get neglected. So you have to really look at this and see, like, what is it worth to you to have a relationship that is a good one. And if there's some kind of a domestic matter, I mean, this could even be about buying a new home. If there, you have Jupiter in the 4th house of home and family, so perhaps you've been trying to upgrade or, buy a bigger home, and now that Jupiter is direct, and we're going to have a new moon in this 4th house in late November. So that might be a time, but right now you might be like looking at certain properties and trying to see. It could be like, this is going to be the sector where there is, I don't know, I shouldn't say it because I'm not sure that that's true. I was going to say that this is where the Mercury retrograde is going to occur, but I think it's not. I think it's going to be in the 3rd house, although the 3rd house could be contracts. So anyway, I'm not going to get too involved with that. So that's that. And a helpful resource that I should seek that will lead me toward my life purpose, I would say, rather than resource, it could be resource in this case. The 3 of Cups can be friendships. And perhaps there's some kind of thing you have in common with a group of people that you're socializing with that has to do with what you came here to do. And I want to say, too, that in terms of life purpose, this doesn't necessarily have to dovetail with your career. This could be something else that is your calling. And if you have uploaded your chart, I mean, if you've ever seen your natal chart and you know what your north node, your natal north node is in, look at what sign it's in, look at what house it's in, and that can give you part of an idea of that. But this is, I would say in general, this would be networking with others, schmoozing with others. And even if this is in an informal way, if it's just like friends of friends, especially if you have a lot of social contacts, that can be very helpful to you or anybody else for that matter. An effective way to raise your vibration, I laughed because when I did this the first time before I got interrupted, I laughed because I had this for the same position for Libra. And it's 5 of Wands. And this is a card of competition. It doesn't have to be bad. It could be friendly competition where you're sparring with others and you're enjoying doing so. It's not something malicious, but this can be about learning how to assert yourself. In terms of raising your vibration, going back to that 10 of Wands, the person is hunched over, so there's a sense of being burdened by something. And this is about, with Wands, we're talking about fire energy. So it really is about your self-esteem and your sense of autonomy and self-empowerment. And perhaps you need to stand up for yourself and learn to say no and learn to say exactly what you mean. Say what you mean what you say, because maybe you've been taken advantage of, and that will lower your vibration because it will make you feel like you don't have your own voice and your own will, that it's tied up in somebody else's demands. A special message from the universe. Page of Cups. If you're getting out of a bad relationship or you know that it's just a matter of time, This could be like the first signs of love, maybe with a Pisces. That's a, it's funny too, because thinking of this astrologically, Neptune is in its own sign in Pisces, and this is your 7th house. And Neptune has been retrograde for several months. It's going direct, I think, in late November. And while it's been retrograde, it might have really exposed you to some harsh truths about a primary relationship. Perhaps you realize that there was a lot of deception going on, and the Page of Cups can be definitely a Piscean energy, but it could be like a new relationship with somebody where love is the name of the game, where it's not about ulterior motives and other kinds of things, but actual love. And maybe it's not the time for that yet, because perhaps you have a lot of things to kind of settle before you deal with it. I mean, as a challenge with the Four of Wands, it could be your marriage that's challenging, a challenge in your life. But the other thing too is that the Page of Cups can also be a card of maybe even like creativity, a child, something to do with a child. I don't know if the Page of Cups directly relates to pregnancy, but there's this innocence with the Page of Cups. So it's like seeing the world as a child, not being cynical. Yeah, I think that's what I would say about this, because you may have faced some challenges recently, and you feel like you were let down or deceived or taken advantage of, especially. And maybe you have to be the one to kind of lay down the law so that you can actually move forward with a sense of confidence. Okay, Virgo, that's what I have for you. I hope that this made sense on some level. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.